Hi, everyone. This is Julie Reisler, and I am the host of the You-est podcast, and I am so freaking excited about these two badass women you're about to meet. You can tune in today, either audio on the podcast, or we're also on YouTube. We've recorded this in video as well, and I recommend both, so you can get to meet these fantastic women, Brooke and Kat, yourself. Let me tell you a little bit about them before we begin. Kat and Brooke Wyman are a dynamic duo in both life and marriage. They're entrepreneurs, coaches, teachers, community connectors, and expert manifestors. They are the owners of SoulFire Collective, a transformative yoga studio and lifestyle hub located in beautiful Rehoboth Beach in Delaware. They've co-created and led numerous workshops on vision and value work and are about to lead a 30-day mindfulness program called Raise the Vibration. In January, they'll be hosting their first personal exploration and yoga retreat in Malibu, California, which I found out is sold out. However, I'm sure they'll have more. Recently, they were featured in the wildly popular female-led development brand Your Bliss as Bliss Crafters. They eat, sleep, and breathe their best lives. Both personally and through their studio, they firmly hold the belief that everyone can and should follow their soul in pursuit of their best life. You are in for such a treat today. They are two women that I love, I call my dear friends, and we are going to get to hear from them all about being their You-est you and what they're up to in the world. So with that, welcome Kat and Brooke.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is so cool. I feel like girl time right now.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Well, I have to tell people that are listening and tuning in, so behind Brooke and Kat they're in their studio, which by the way I've been to, and if you're ever even close to Rehoboth, which is a beautiful, charming, gorgeous beach town in Delaware, you must stop at SoulFire Collective. It's magical and transformative. Their yoga is amazing. And behind them, it says collective, a group of individuals coming together to sweat, move, shift, inspire, and I think grow. Kat's head is right there. Yeah. And that's truly something I've noticed with you guys. Like, you really do eat, sleep, and breathe transformation and growth. Like, can you talk a little bit about your growth, maybe each of you, and how you've gotten to here? I mean, I know it's kind of like, tell us your life story, but whatever you're willing to share, would love to hear so people can get to know you.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh, I don't know where to start. The transformation and the growth. Honestly, for me, I started working at Lululemon is truthfully the springboard for everything. And for people who don't know, Lululemon is, truthfully, I believe it's a clothing company that is, it's showing up as a clothing company, but it's actually a personal development company. So I started working there 7 or 8 years ago. I don't work there anymore, but I started there when I was in law school, and I couldn't have been in more of a place where I didn't believe in personal growth and transformation. And I actually tripped and fell into it. And after about 7 years or so working for the company and really getting curious about who I am as an individual, really getting raw and vulnerable and asking the big questions and asking why I'm showing up certain ways or who I am and what I want out of this life, I've finally landed in this place where I'm like, I actually have to pinch myself every single day. And there's days where I can't pinpoint, Brooke and I talk about this all the time. There's days where I can't pinpoint where these amazing things are coming from or how they're coming from, but I truly believe I've been manifesting them for like 7 or 8 years. And like just now they're all like flying my direction. And I'm in a space now where I eat, sleep, and breathe personal development every single day because I know it's brought me here. And I'm here, whether it be on your yoga mat or whether it be through life coaching or whether it be through just friends grabbing a cup of coffee, that's where I'm at right now. And I couldn't be happier to be here in this like free flow personal development space. And most of it is because of this beautiful company, Lululemon, that's brought me here and brought me to my beautiful wife.
So awesome. I want to come back to that because I know you said in law school, and I think sounds like there's probably something happened to go from law school to where you are. We'll come back to that. But Brooke, yeah, share, because I know you have a story.
Yeah, it's funny, as she was sharing her story, I was like, we have a similar story, just we were living in different places, because I would say that my journey started when I started working at Lululemon as well. I had just gotten out of a pretty unhealthy marriage where I definitely was nowhere near who I was supposed to be. And I started working for Lululemon, and it was kind of the same thing at that moment. They had this manifesto and it listed like sweat and do yoga and all these health style things. And I just remember me reading the manifesto and saying, like, this is what my soul wants. I need to work for this company. And kind of as Kat referenced, the company sold stretchy pants, but really it was the first time I had been exposed to yoga and self-development and personal responsibility and all of those things. And it was the first time I was like, this is who I'm supposed to be. So while Kat was on her journey of Lululemon, I was on my journey of Lululemon, totally separate, nowhere aligned. And then Lululemon did bring us together because we both worked together at a store in Columbia, Maryland. So I think that's where our paths aligned. But it's cool to think about now that we were like prepping our authentic selves separately and at the same time. So here we are.
Wow. Well, it's funny. I feel like Lululemon might be the common thread, seeing that I've actually just released a couple episodes interviewing people that have worked there in the focus on personal growth and development, which is part of what drew me into the store for the stretchy pants originally. But Brooke, when I met you, it's so funny, just to let people know, really quick story. I walked in, this is like a couple of years ago, and I met Brooke and I'm like, who is this light being? Like, who's this blissful lady? Who's going to be my friend? She doesn't know this yet. And literally I was like, you're going to be my friend, and this is how it's going to happen. And amazing. And then I remember meeting you, Kat, going in the store looking for another pair of stretchy black pants. many of those. You helped me.
The yoga pants, I say, are like the shiny object that like brings us all into it. And then we get there and we're like, oh my God, there's actually like a heart and a soul. And there's truthfully, I wouldn't have stayed there for 7 years for stretchy pants. I stayed there because of amazing people like yourself, like Brooke, and because there's a heart and they're committed to developing people. And you have to be committed to developing yourself as well.
Absolutely. No, it's one of the things. I remember the bag with the manifesto and the words on it. And I love words, as I'm wearing some today. It says, you are loved, which is true. We are all loved. And I remember thinking, like, whatever this is, I need to be part of this and involved with this. And it's just so interesting. I'm grateful to be a small part of it, and to think that brought you guys together and brought us together. So we can do a little like homage to Lululemon for all of our, just a moment of gratitude. And it's so interesting because, you know, one of the things I saw and read in your bio, and then also just heard you say, Kat, was talking about manifesting and the power of manifesting. And would love to hear, I know that that's something you guys are both focused on, powerfully able to do and teaching others. Say a little bit about your thoughts on manifesting, and maybe those coming into the conversation that are like, I would love to manifest some good shit in my life, but that hasn't happened or I haven't seen it yet. Like, what would you say to them? What are some guidelines or some wisdom?
I think the beautiful thing about manifestation is like, there is no guidelines or wisdom. Like, you just need to get out of your own way. Like we always talk about like language is power, and you have to be so careful about the words that slip out of your mouth, because your brain and your body and your soul is absorbing that, and it's creating that story. It's writing that story whether you want it or not. And we've been in the work for so long now of being like, every single time we say the word specifically, I am, we are so conscious about what we put after it, because we know that our being is manifesting that. And whether it be like, if people are looking for guidelines, I think like vision boarding is a great one, like sitting down and, you know, taking that time to get crafty and cut things out and like putting it on a board where you're going to see it every day, or even just like writing down words that feel really, really good and like taking those on and looking at those every single day. Like truthfully, that's manifestation. It doesn't need to be this like long diagram thing. It just is being cognizant and careful about the words you speak to yourself, and only speaking the words you want. Because if you speak the words you don't want, like, that's what you're going to end up with. So when we sat down, I've said a million times, I want to be an entrepreneur, and I want to be a community maven, and I want to be in a beach community, and I want to ride a beach cruiser. And like, I'm like, holy shit, I'm doing it. When I sit down and think about it, it's because I've been sitting down and writing it down and looking at it for as long as I can remember. You know, you just can't be afraid. You can't be afraid of living your best life and writing it down.
I love what you said about there's no guidelines. I love that. And that really, it's about listening to your words and being to me, it's like impeccable with the words that you're speaking out loud into yourself, because we say so many to ourselves. And I love that you've been writing these words down that now you are literally embodying. You're literally living. You mentioned something I think is interesting. You talked about don't be afraid to live your best life. And I think, you know, there's that great quote. It's like, we fear being bigger than who we really are. We fear shining our light. And I would imagine those listening, they're, sometimes we're so used to living in a specific way that it can actually be off-putting to be living a bigger life, so to speak. And I know you do a lot with coaching and helping people to really move past that. What's a way that you help others to kind of move past that fear? Because I think that can get big time in the way.
I think the biggest thing is acknowledging that it's there. I like using that as a tool and calling that big, hairy, we use the language inner critic or saboteur. We use that language when we're coaching, but calling that into the room and acknowledging that it's there and not hiding and saying like, okay, like this is what's actually going on, and not attaching and moving past it. And I think there's also a piece of not being afraid to ask the like big, scary, hairy questions as well. Like the things that maybe make you like, ooh, like, squirm around in your chair a little bit and start to uncover some things. But I would say asking the big questions and calling that like ugly thing into the room and being like, okay, it's here. Like I have one too. Like I am living my best life. And trust me, I have a scary inner critic too, but I know it's there. Yeah. I invite it up. Like let's have a seat and let's talk about it.
Yeah. It's awesome. What are some of your big, hairy, audacious goals, otherwise known as BHAGs? I don't love that acronym, but I think it's great in terms of just getting the picture of it. Like if you were to kind of dig in and look at, okay, SoulFire Collective studio, but then as a brand, as a movement, I mean, I think just knowing you both, you're up to big stuff and wanting to help people. What does that look like for you?
I think the first thing that came to mind was like being bigger than Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Mm-hmm. So having a second location or a third location, or being that brand that all over the world people know not only SoulFire Collective, but me and Kat, and we are able to touch so many more lives. So right now we have this 4 walls and we have the studio space, and it's like slowly becoming more and more of like a lifestyle, and it would be so cool to see people on the West Coast or all over the world know SoulFire Collective, not just as a studio, but as this brand of transformative life.
Yeah, and to touch on the language around it. In fact, I caught myself yesterday, we're driving home, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I love our little collective. And then I looked over at her and I go, no, I don't love our little collective. I love our collective. Because I said, I don't want us to ever sit in this space where we're creating smallness. Like we believe we're going to be bigger than that. We believe this is going to be a national, not just yoga movement, but it's being a national development movement, lifestyle movement for people. And it starts with us, and it starts with the way we speak about our brand and our people and everything. And yeah, it was just like, it came up yesterday even.
Awesome. Well, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to have you and just interview and talk to you, because I think one of the things about each of you, you're so authentically wanting to help others really explore their souls and live their best life and manifest what they want. I know you've done programs on raising and shifting your vibration. And I love that. Just side note, I love that you caught that, Kat. I do that all the time. I'm like, whoa, cancel that. No. We're talking like massive transformation. Not like little. What the heck? That's small game. We're talking massive game. Yeah, our world definitely, I'm a big, our world really needs you guys to expand. So I'm all for like, anyway, we can all support you because we need more of this energy. And that's, I know for me, when I get a little scared, it's like, no, it's not me. It's in service of, and I get that with you guys too. It's in service of making a really big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Talking about vibration, because I know it's something that you guys you have a beautiful vibration both together as a collective and partnership, which I want to come back to, but also just what you offer in the world and something I know you teach. For those who are like, what the heck is my vibration? Or like, I've heard of it, but that sounds woo-woo, or like, I'm kind of in the closet woo-woo, but like, I've heard like, my vibe, but I'm all into it, but I could see some people being like, I'm not really exactly sure. Can you give like some of your thoughts on vibration and how to raise it, what that looks like?
Yeah, I know, it's funny. I think we've like been talking about it ad nauseum over here because we're getting ready to kick off that raise of vibration. And I have realized that I am obsessed with vibration. So to me, it is this energy that we all have. And I was talking about it in class the other day, and it's like, there's that saying like bad things happen in threes. And to me, that's like the most beautiful example of energy, because that bad thing happens we take that on, we're like stressed, nervous, which creates an energy that we get one more bad thing. And then we're like stressed more, and then our energy is even worse. So we get that third bad thing. So that is energy. And so when we are going through life stressed and unbalanced and in complaint or judgment, we put out this energy, and then the universe, because it is so magical, gives us that exactly back.
Yeah.
So if our energy is full of love and gratitude and light and abundance, then that is what the universe gives us back. And it's just being aware of that. And, you know, there are times where my energy is low. We would be kidding ourselves if we said, like, we're always a high vibing, like, human, trust me. There are days I'm in complaint and all of that, but I think it's the awareness that the second I'm in that, okay, Brooke, you are putting out a negative energy, and that's what you're going to get back. And it's being aware and then being able to shift.
Beautiful.
You know, it says like Eeyore, or
yeah, the example I always use, because we're doing this program, and I use like the Eeyore example. So Eeyore was from Winnie the Pooh, and if you always look at that character, he was like, want to talk about a low vibration, he was always like, oh, bother, and more bad things kept coming his direction. And I'm like, well, what if Eeyore became Tigger, and all of a sudden, like, the skies would part and great things would happen? So it's like, when you wonder why bad things happen to Eeyore, it's like, well, no, actually Eeyore created that. Good things happened to Tigger because Tigger was vibrating really high and was like, you know, hanging out with his friends and always high energy. So it was like, even in cartoons it shows up.
I love that. This is an obsession of mine as well, because I think what you're also talking about is getting out of victimhood, and shifting to, we're responsible for everything that happens. You know, when you said, Brooke, I'm thinking, I sometimes can hear my listeners like, well, when you said magical, first of all, I'm like all about magical, but I think I'm all about it. For those that are like magical, I'm thinking maybe even an idea around that is like attracts like. You know, we see that in science and physics, like attracts like. And so just giving that, like, for those linear thinkers, I am not one, but I think of those people that have written in, they're like, I kind of got it, but can you break it down? I'm thinking that might even be like, to me, when you look at the basics of nature, that would even, you know, apply with what you were saying about the magical piece. Really, it's so simple, like attracts like. We can see that. So that's kind of a way to look at it.
For sure.
Yeah. I love what you guys are doing. I want to talk about being your You-est you, and if it's okay, go into like the manifestation of you guys, how this came to be you as a collective, as a couple, because I think that that's beautiful and an important story to share, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Oh my gosh, I'll share it all. I feel like you need to take that away.
These are some of the most beautiful souls, people, like listeners, friends, all of you. I hope you tune in and watch this. First of all, I'm looking at you because I get to see you, and I'm like, you are just beaming so much light and joy. This is like one of the happiest, most beautiful couples I have like literally ever met. I have a wonderful marriage, and I'm like, I just like aspire, and I'm inspired by you. And I'm like, if we could just like have that kind of joy. We do similarly, but like you just emanate it. I love it. It's such an inspiration for all of us.
Thank you. I know our love story, or our joining, is so crazy, but I'll try and streamline it and give everyone just kind of a background story. I mean, like I said, I had gotten out of a marriage that was unhealthy, and which led me to Lululemon and that journey into self, like love and discovery. And Kat was on that journey as well. And then I randomly got offered the opportunity to work in Columbia, Maryland, and become the store manager of that Lululemon. And the crazy thing is, I found out that becoming a store manager, I needed to fly to Florida and do a training to become the store manager. So I flew to Florida to train to become the store manager of the Columbia store. And while I was there, I worked in a store, and the last night I was there, that whole store, that team was going out to like celebrate the week being over. And one of the girls on that team brought her best friend, i.e. Kat, now my wife, out. And so honestly, we just met, and she worked for Lululemon, and I was hiring this team as a store manager. And I was like, I need an assistant manager, and you look like you would fit everything I want as an assistant manager. And so I just kind of brought it up, like briefly, if she would be interested in moving to Columbia, Maryland to be my assistant manager. And long story short, it took some conversations, some interviews, and she took the job. and moved from Florida to Columbia, Maryland. And I think I just need to pause the story here and say,
gosh,
myself, I've always been with a man. I've only dated men. So this encounter, and Kat as well has only dated men. This encounter was very much a like platonic, I need an assistant manager, and she fit that. Yeah. And so she moved to Columbia, Maryland, and was my assistant manager.
Can I also share, I had no idea where Columbia, Maryland was. So when she asked me first, I was like, I don't even know there was a Columbia, Maryland. And then she brought me up for a visit, and I kid you not, we got lost. I was there for 3 days. We got lost, no lie, 15 times. And I was literally staying across the street from where the store's located. And somehow I was convinced we were 2 hours from where my hotel was because we got lost so bad so many times. Oh, but it was the beautiful authenticity that she displayed in getting lost. Like, she admitted every single time. She's like, I have to tell you something. She goes, I don't know where we are. Every single time, just like, she was selling an area to me, and she very easily could have slid it under the rug and been like, yeah, like I got it all together. And no, she was just like so beautifully authentic and was like, I legitimately am lost. Like, I actually have no idea where we are right now. And like, I can tell you your hotel is 2 miles from the mall. Somehow we're now 45 minutes from your hotel.
Oh my God. By the way, I've gotten lost in Columbia so many times also. Yes. Carry on. Just
So long story short, she was my assistant manager in Columbia, Maryland, and we had a very business relationship. She was my assistant manager. I wouldn't say we were the best of friends just because we had those boundaries of store manager and assistant manager. And then she decided that she wanted to move to California to work for Lululemon California. And I was like, bless, like, how fast can we get you to California? Because at that moment, she was just my assistant manager that kind of drove me crazy. And that's because like I am yin and she is yang. Like, we're just very different. But I'll never forget the week that she was getting ready to move to California. I would go practice yoga and just like bawl on my mat. And I remember the instructor saying like, what are you crying about? And I was like, I'm not gonna cry right now. I can remember people saying, what are you crying about? And I was like, I'm super sad that Kat's moving to California. And I like didn't understand, why am I crying? I didn't understand that emotion that I was having for someone that I kind of wanted to leave. And I think it was like this deep, we are two souls that are meant to be together. And so anyway, she moved to California and we just continued this conversation as like best friends. Like, I can remember we would call each other and speak on the phone every day. And I was just like, Kat's my best friend. And we talked for hours and hours and hours. And I got to know who Kat was as a person and not as my assistant manager.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's it. I'm coming out to California. And I thought, again, this was going to be just like best friends coming to visit. And I'll never forget, we were on the phone and she said, maybe when you get out here, like we'll meet 2 men and like we'll be this like foursome. Like, you'll find a guy and that guy will be best friends and we'll be this like powerhouse foursome. And I remember in that moment, I was just like, no, I kind of want to just come out and hang out with you. And that's when we kind of just said like, I think we're in love. And that's where it happened. And I flew out to California, and the second I landed, I was like, this isn't my friend, this is going to be my wife. It was the weirdest thing. And I'm telling you, know that, and now your listeners, like, I just had never thought of being with a female ever in my whole entire life. But what I couldn't deny was this love that I had for a human.
Wow. I have chills. That is so beautiful.
I love hearing it over and over again. Oh my gosh, it never gets old.
Well, I remember, Brooke, before you left for California, because we were friends and our mutual friend Monique, I think I was with you like the night or two before you were packing.
Yes.
And we were like, yeah, you're going to meet some men. Like, it's going to be so fun. It's like, she's all going out to Cali with her, thumb on Louise. Like, they're going to pick up some dudes. Like, I was all in that space with you. And I remember you came back, I think it was later, like, I have some really interesting news. And I was like, that's badass awesome. Like, to fall in love with your friend, your best friend, like soul to soul, that's the thing with you guys. You talk about vibration and I know there's this understanding belief that when you have two people, especially of higher vibration, meaning good, positive energy together, you get this ability, some call it a mastermind or connection, or just this magic that happens. And you guys really, really have that. When I'm around the two of you, it's like this, I'm doing things with my hands to try to show like explosion of good vibes and energy. Kat, anything you want to add? Because I think it's just a beautiful story.
I love hearing it over and over and over again. And when I went out to California, and we shared this after the fact, I remember I couldn't pinpoint. I was kind of in the same place where I couldn't pinpoint. I cried. I like drove across the country for 6 days, and I was like about to embark on this life I had written down that I wanted. And I spent 6 days bawling. I listened to 2 songs in the car. One of them was Stubborn Love by the Lumineers. And I just remember I drove out there with a friend, and they probably thought I was crazy because I was listening to 2 songs and I was crying hysterically. Like, but you're about to live your best life. And I'm like, but I don't know why I'm crying. And then got out to California, and we talked for 2 hours on the phone probably every night. And I do not like talking on the phone. I'm a very like direct, like, tell me where I need to be.
Yeah.
And we were pen pals. Like, we wrote letters. Like, we wrote these, I have never been so excited to write someone letters. And I distinctly remember the day we were texting, and she texted me and was like, hey, like, what do you think Lululemon would think about our relationship? And I was like, what do you mean what Lululemon would think about our relationship? And she said, because I think I'm falling in love with you. And I said, well, that's funny, because I'm in love with you. And like, I was like, this is a lot of news to handle right before you go to bed. But it was just like, I could not wait until she came to visit, because that was, our whole relationship has been communication based. Like, there was no physicality to it. So truthfully, when we met, like, it could have been very sideways, but I remember she flew out to San Diego, and I remember waiting in the airport by myself, and I was like at the bar, like having cocktails, sweating, like waiting for her to get off the plane. She got off, and I'll never forget when she turned the corner and like sprinted and jumped on me and gave me like the biggest hug. And then we had our first kiss in the San Diego airport. And at that very moment, I thought, this is it.
Wow.
Like, there is no one else for me in this world. And we spent that 10 days when she was in California. It was like a honeymoon, and like never missed a beat. I felt so connected to someone's soul, and like so proud to be with somebody. And I'm still I'm like getting shaky and choked up too. Like, I'm still so proud to be with her, and like grab my hand in public. Like, I want people to know that we're together, because I've never seen or experienced love like we have. And it started in California, and it continues today.
Wow. That's
and so... I think the universe like conspired then to get us to Rehoboth Beach, because we'd never even heard of Rehoboth Beach. And now here we are. So
yeah. Rehoboth is beautiful, by the way. Listening, go. It's beautiful. Go to their yoga studio. It's right by Lunchbox, which has great food. Yes. Kat, I just have to ask, what was the other song you were listening to? You only said one.
It was an Elena Perez song.
Okay. I kind of know.
Those were the 2 songs. Like, I have a very extensive Spotify account, and I played 2 songs for 50 hours. For 50 hours, I played 2 songs.
Sometimes that's what happens, to be able to get in the flow and listen. Well,
I'm like, I guess I'm having a breakthrough. Like, something's happening. Yeah.
I love this story for so many reasons. Like, you both just being open to love, however it shows up. And I'm a huge believer that, love is love. Our souls, whatever body or, human form we take, is just the shell. It has really nothing to do, to me, it's like soul to soul. It really is. So however that shows up, and it's just so beautiful that you were open and that you were able to communicate. I didn't realize, Brooke, that you said that first, that you said it first. Not surprised. Not surprised. It's so beautiful. For those listening, so inspiring, and just to be open, no matter who it is or what sex they are, or what, just to be open-minded. And I think that goes for whether it's a love relationship or people in your life. I have sometimes, I hate to say it, but sometimes I've made judgments. It's the worst feeling. And I love when I have somebody that I had a judgment about, and then they become someone I'm really close with. And it just reminds me to just be really open and come from a place of love, and then see what happens. And obviously, I didn't know the story, Brooke, about you meeting Kat in Florida. Like, that's just, the other piece I get is like being open to possibilities and tuning into your intuition. Like, thank God you thought to ask her that. That's just amazing.
Well, and what's crazy is, and for anybody, for your listeners, it's totally about serendipity, because she actually wasn't supposed to be in Florida. She was supposed to be doing a training somewhere else.
And like the day before, they rerouted me to Florida. So it was just like all in. I think you said it too beautifully, Julie. Like, it just like, I think our love story are just so many lessons that we learn. It's just like, you have no idea where you will be 20 years from now. And so just to stay open, because if somebody had told me I would be married to a female owning a yoga studio, I would have said, like, absolutely, like, no way, you must not know me, like, absolutely not. And so it just is like an everyday reminder to me that the universe is aligning and you have no idea, so just stay open.
Yeah, so beautiful. Kat, you had mentioned earlier in our conversation about every day, I think both of you, every day focused on personal growth and development. And I like to highlight just those that are kind of like loving up life and looking for the best way to live it. And I'm curious because I love sharing different ways that people do that. And if there are things that you do that you could share, both of you, that practices or routines or anything that can help anybody tuning in, maybe they'll just take one piece to help have more of a delicious life. Like, what are some of the things you guys do?
Brooke is like the ritual queen, but I will, like, this girl loves a ritual. But anyway, truthfully, the biggest tip to living your best life is really strong boundaries. And not boundaries in the sense of walls that we don't let people in, but boundaries in knowing what you need to be your best self. So for me, it looks like I need 30 minutes in the morning to make my cup of coffee, to meditate, to read a little bit, to pull some angel cards. And like, I do not look at social media or anything until after I've done my like 30 to 60 minutes of myself, because I don't want someone else running my day. Like, I don't want to live someone else's best life. Like, I want to live Kat's best life. And the way I do that is like, I turn off all of the distractions. I do what I need to do. And if journaling's a part of it, whatever's a part of it. But I would say boundaries and knowing what you need to be your best self is like this, like the secret sauce.
Love it. We have a similar practice, and I'm so with you. I love that idea of boundaries in a loving sense. Like, you dictate that first 30 to 60 minutes. I am so freaking with you on that. It makes all the difference. Yeah. Beautiful. How about you, Miss Ritual Queen?
Yeah. The slow morning, like, and boundaries was a good way to put it. But yeah, I am committed to like that first cup of coffee without mindlessly scrolling, because I will spend hours in a mindless scroll trap. And so the tip that has worked the best for me is at night, I put my phone on airplane mode, and then I won't take it off airplane mode until my first cup of coffee is finished. And it's just a tiny reminder, because I have complained to Kat so many times, like, I don't have time in the morning. And she's like, maybe you should look at how much you mindlessly scroll. So that has helped me, because I do want that time to drink my coffee or meditate and read. And that 30 minutes gets eaten up because I scroll for 15 to 20 and then I only have 10. So that was like the biggest shift for me, is that airplane mode.
Oh, that's brilliant. I have not heard that or thought of that. That's, I'm like doing that tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's life-changing. You're like, oh, I have all this time that gets eaten.
And are you guys early risers, or sometimes, like, I always like to ask about that. That's a little bit of a struggle for myself.
Early. I've always been that way. I'd rather, if I have to get things done, I would rather go to bed at 9 p.m. and get up at 4 a.m. Not that I get up at 4 a.m. often, but that morning quiet before the world starts is my favorite time of day. So I will give myself that extra hour or 2 hours sometimes just to be up before I need to be ready.
Yeah. We are not night owls.
No, we are in bed early.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Oh my goodness. I know that your upcoming retreat is sold out. However, I would love to just share a little bit about what you're creating, because I'm sure you're going to have more. And I know it's one of your first ones with SoulFire Collective. Say a little bit about what it's about, what it's going to, the energy, the vibe, like what you're having there.
Yeah. So we wanted to create something that was a combination of personal development and yoga. Obviously, there's a lot of yoga that kind of crosses over into the personal development zone, but we also wanted to stay really committed to space. One of the things that's always worked really well for us is when we go away, being given the free time to explore and do what we need to do. Speaking of boundaries, doing what we need to do to fill ourselves back up. So our non-negotiables, when we're talking about our retreat, we're like, we're going to have components of development and really focusing on the people that are going to be there. We're going to have a heavy component of yoga, and we're also going to have a heavy component of boundaries where people can explore the area, where people can explore themselves. And if that looks like reading a book by the pool, or that looks like going for a hike for an hour by yourself, like, you do what you need to do, because all we want to do is send you back into your world completely filled up and like completely ready to take things on. And we thought that would be the best way to do it. Awesome. Not to mention Malibu is gorgeous, and our house is like up in the mountains overlooking the Pacific Ocean. So that's also pretty cool too.
Beautiful.
So
that is so awesome. I'm bummed it's filled up, but I'm sure you're thinking of doing more.
There will be more.
There will be more. That's why we're bringing this up. You guys, everyone listening, and we're going to have all of your info, your Instagram handle, your Facebook, your wherever people can find you guys, so they can tune in and find out when you're doing this again, and find out about the Raise the Vibe program. And just, I know, Kat, you're a coach, and Brooke will be a coach soon. And so Brooke already is a coach, but hasn't fully realized that. No, I'm kidding. You guys are awesome. When I think about being your You-est you, being really, to me, it's like living into your sacred potential, what you came here, the contract, perhaps even what you came here to do, to be, to illuminate. When I was thinking of like, who are people that are doing that? I mean, immediately it was like, those two ladies are 100% just you. And I love, in your sharing that you've gone through a lot of different dips and turns. Really quick, Kat, you were in law school. Like what got you from law school to Lululemon to yoga? Like that's a huge shift.
I know. It's
now
become like that really interesting party fact that makes everyone go, wait, what?
Right.
Wait, huh? I got into law school because I was really concerned with looking good. Like I wanted to have a title that people could say, like, this is Kat, she's our daughter, she's an attorney. And like, I could say, hey, I'm Kat, I'm an attorney. And like, that's all I was concerned with. And I found my yoga mat, and I went through some development programs. One of them was the 40 Days of Personal Revolution, which is a Baptiste-based yoga program. And there is so much inquiry and introspection that I've never experienced before. And I just remember coming out of that program and being like, oh my God, like I need to make a change. And I remember sitting in the back room at Lululemon, and I had started working there while I was at law school, crying, thinking, I don't want to be an attorney. And like, I remember people from the store were like, what is going on? And I'm just like, I don't want to be an attorney. And I sat in the back room that day. I called my parents that night, like was basically freaking out calling my parents. I graduated from law school, and I told them, I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give myself 2 years. I'm going to ride this journey out with Lululemon, see what happens. If I can make something happen in 2 years, amazing. If not, then I'll have to take the bar and become an attorney. Like that's just the alternative. And 2 years turned into 7 years. And like I never looked back. I've never felt, it always felt like it was right where I was supposed to be. I always felt full and happy and energetic when I walked in, as opposed to walking into law school and feeling like a little depleted, and just felt like I was being surrounded by people that just, they weren't bringing out the You-est you or the me-est me and myself. And yeah. And now here I am owning a yoga studio, which that definitely was not on my vision board when I was in law school.
So awesome.
But like Brooke said, it's all being open to the journey, and like setting those goals and being totally open to how they unfold, and trusting that you're going to get exactly what you need and at the right time. Yeah.
So beautiful. You guys are such an example of that kind of unbridled faith and trust and being open. And, I think for some people, they have plans. I'm one who kind of has a little bit of a plan, and then I let it go because I'm able to do that. But for some, that's really hard to do that. And so listening to you, I think, you probably never thought, Kat, you were going to ditch, being a lawyer And I'm sure many people listening, many of us feel like I went into that because I look good, or it was what my parents wanted, or it gave me a title, or it gave me the opportunity to feel better about my worthiness, whatever it is. And what's so cool with you is that I mean, that's the turning point in my mind listening to you, is you listened, you tuned in, and you allowed yourself space. And that point, I mean, you can see now the trajectory. I mean, you're in a whole new place. It's like hard to even picture you as a lawyer. I mean, that would be like,
I know, everyone says,
what?
Yeah,
I mean,
pencil skirt. Yeah, wearing a pencil skirt and like a suit jacket.
No, I mean, good skills to have. Shoot, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have the background, but just, yeah, living, really listening and tuning in. You guys are such good examples of that. And that's one of the things I just thought, you know, everyone listening in, I know, will be inspired, whatever that looks like, right, for them, for you that are, you know, you listeners, like really taking in that Brooke and Kat, their journeys. You guys just really allowed yourself to be open and be guided and to trust and to, you know, to allow your vibration to be important enough that that's what's driving you, is following that inner guidance, bliss, intuition. I mean, you can feel it, hear it, see it. And I do recommend anybody who's near Delaware, Rehoboth, you got to go to your yoga studio. And I bet soon we'll be on the West Coast and elsewhere. I could see that. Yeah. We'll just keep watching. We'll keep following. Maybe we'll do another one when you guys expand to the next location and touch base. Just to, before we wrap it up, I always like to ask, because I know you guys, I mean, you're into words and quotes. Is there like a phrase, a statement, a quote that guides you in your life? And you can each, whatever comes to each of you. A mantra, something, intention.
I feel it comes, of course, all back to faith and trust. But the first thing that popped into my mind, so I'm running with it, is what's meant for you will not pass.
Ooh.
And that honestly was last year was kind of a rough year for me. I like broke my ankle. There was all these things. And I felt like, again, I was trying to control when things were going to happen, how things were going to happen. And so I wrote that down and I read it every single day. And it's like, now I can look back, and again, you can always see how everything happened as it was supposed to be. So what's meant for you will not pass. A little quote of trust.
That's awesome. I'm going to add that to the show notes. That's fantastic. I love, 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 love that one. My God. Writing it on my mirror in silver, maybe gold. It's awesome.
I feel like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Kat, anything for you? Mantra, intention, words, anything that guides you?
I'm totally going to quote Brooke, and I know that's like very cheesy, but Brooke has always said, and it's always in the back of my head, is you have to have a breakdown before you have a breakthrough. And it's like just such a gentle reminder for me, like even when I'm in this space where I feel so like, oh my God, what am I doing? I feel so hopeless. It's like trusting that the breakthrough is coming, but this right now, this space of the unknown, the uncomfortable is like getting ready to shoot me like a slingshot into like the stratosphere of a complete breakthrough. So yeah, that one. And I remind that to people all the time. Like it's so important.
I love that. Everyone listening in, if you're in a breakdown moment, and I believe this wholeheartedly, by the way, I even wrote a friggin' chapter on that in my first book, like really. And it's not, you know, I got it somewhere else, but it's true. When you really look back and you see all those pivotal moments, it's like it started with a breakdown. Even with you with the law school decision, that probably was a breakdown.
Or me and my divorce, like
your divorce, Brooke. Yeah. So those tuning in, like really look, if you're in a breakdown period, because I can know that can be challenging and feel depleting energy. Just know what has to follow is a breakthrough. That's how life goes. You just got to look for it, be open to it, and wait and be trusting of that.
Well, and I think that the thing that I always remind myself too, and I share with people, is don't force the breakthrough. Like so many people want to skip over the hard times to get to the great times, but truthfully, you have to put up the fight and you have to go through the rough patches in order to get this big, beautiful, glorious life that's waiting for you on the other side. Beautiful.
That's so great. I'll add to that too. I do believe the more that you embrace it and allow yourself to kind of look at the breakdown in the light. For me, what I've noticed is it gets easier and easier, so that breakdowns happen. We can expect them, like you're saying. And then it's like, oh yeah, all right, now I know how to embrace it. So it's kind of like the first time's the hardest. That's what I've experienced. I don't know if that's for you guys, but
for sure, it
gets easier. Well, you two are a collective of SoulFire and light and illumination. And you guys are awesome. I love, 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 love your energy, your vibe, what you're here doing in the world. I feel like we all need more of what you offer and who you are. And that's the thing, you guys, with Kat and Brooke, it's like who they're being and who they are. And I know everyone listening is going to just fall in love with you. You can't not. Really can't not. I love the yin and the yang that you bring, and I'm just definitely yin and yang. I love it. It's like like the yin yang. It like goes. Yeah, it's really. I remember when I was in a yoga class, Keith and I were there, and I'm like, first of all, you guys were in front of us. I'm like, oh my God, they look like twins, like literally twins. But there's this yin yang energy, and it's beautiful. It's so powerful. So, just honored. Thank you for being on the You-est podcast. It's so fun to have you, and just awesome to watch what you're doing. And I'm a big supporter of any like awesome ladies that are uplifting humanity. And that's what you're doing in any way. That's like, to me, one of the biggest gifts we can give to the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Julie. Thank you.